Welcome back to this session. So in the last session where I left you was, do you know how to advertise, communicate and evaluate in order to sell yourself effectively? What is your answer? Did you write one? Okay, if not, just think about it for a moment, okay? And even if your answer is no right now, don't you worry, we've got you, okay? We've got you covered. And in the next steps, in the next modules, we are going to discuss all of this and more. And basically what we are teaching you here and coaching you around is how do you actually communicate your value, how do you advertise, how do you communicate, and how do you make sure that through all these three stages until evaluation, you're able to sell yourself and what you bring onto the table most effectively. Okay, so moving forward now, there is a myth around job search. You know what is that myth? The best candidate always gets the job. And as I said, it is a myth. Let me burst it, because it is not always the best candidate who gets the job, but it is the candidate who sells himself or herself most effectively always who gets the job. You heard that right. It is not always the best. Let me say that again, okay? It is not the best candidate who gets the job, but it is the candidate who sells himself or herself most effectively who gets to the offer letter stage, okay? And if he can, so can you, right? Important thing is to know how to do it. And you may wonder that, okay, Chinmay, you've been telling us how to know yourself, you've been talking about the challenges, you've been talking about, how to, you have to sell yourself, but how to actually do it, right? So we're just getting there and getting into all the action just in a bit, okay? So just hang on and keep answering these questions that I ask you. So here is the stages, right? Here is the stages. So first of all, as we approach towards job search, talk about resume, understand the stages involved, right? We already understood the process involved. How is the company looking at you, right? We already understood that. But now it is important to also see that writing the resume is only a step in the process. What is the entire process? So of course you update your professional resume, you then position yourself correctly, okay, which improves, which is around positioning, checking your positioning online, on social media, through the cover letter, through the LinkedIn, and you know it by now, right? What does it do? It helps you improve your confidence, because you know what you're looking for, you know what you bring onto the table. Now you've also been able to communicate it effectively, to sell yourself effectively through all these tools: resume, cover letter, LinkedIn profile, social media, interview, and so on. And that helps you feel more confident. Of course, interview stage hasn't come in yet, but once you have an improved confidence, that is when you reach the successful the stage of interviewing. You interview successfully, you know all these strategies, you know how to position yourself, present yourself with confidence, with accuracy, and that is when you land with a job offer, right? So these are the 5 stages involved in any job search. Of course, there are a lot of intermediate steps, but these are primarily the 5 steps that you need before you can land with your job offer. Moving ahead, now you've been listening to me talking about building your personal brand, okay? But what is your personal brand, right? And very little, I just want to touch upon it, because we have a separate program coming up around professional brand and how you can build one professional brand. But just a little bit, because resume is also a very important, like a brochure of your brand, the brand you, right? So your personal brand is nothing but your superpower, right? Resume is your personal brand is your superpower. A resume is only a part of it. Learn how to create a compelling personal brand that reflects your unique skills, your experiences, the value that you bring, and you can do all of this with a powerful resume. We will explore techniques to showcase your authentic self to attract the right opportunities, as I said, during our upcoming programs also. But today, the topic of the discussion is the resume builder formula, right? So building your personal brand is extremely important. Now, the purpose of resume. What is the purpose of resume? The purpose of resume is to secure an interview by showcasing your qualifications to potential employers. I am only saying qualifications because you may be a fresher, you may be just at the edge, on the edge where you are just launching your career. But even if you have an experience, then of course you also showcase your experience to the potential employers. Resume also acts as a personal marketing tool. I just used a word, if you noticed, called brochure. Write it down. A resume is nothing but a brochure. Okay, and I will explain to you later as well why am I calling it a brochure. But brochure is also a marketing tool, isn't it? A brochure of anything that you see, you want it to tell you its characteristics, its strengths, its features, right? Similarly, resume is your marketing tool, which presents a summary of your background in a clear, concise, and a compelling manner. Compelling is also a key word here, right? It presents a summary of your background in a clear, concise, and a compelling manner. Okay, so that is the purpose of a resume. Now, why should you have a strong resume? You may say, Chinmay, ma'am, it's such a funny thing to ask right now, isn't it? Because we have discussed that enough. But I will ask you again, why should you have a strong resume? And there are a couple of pointers here. Of course, it creates the first impressions. And I hope you know that you only get one chance to create the first impression, isn't it? So your resume is often the first point of contact. The person, the employer, the HR person or a CEO of a company, of your prospective employer, they haven't met you yet, but they will get to see your resume, which is your, the brochure, a marketing tool to get to know you, right? That is the first thing they see. Your resume is often the first point of contact between you and potential employer. A well-crafted resume can create positive first impression and increase your chances of progressing to the interview stage. In fact, I would actually replace that word, not just increase, but that is your only chance, right? When you send a resume to anybody, that is it's like you're meeting with this person, right? But you don't do the talking. It is the resume that will be the first point of contact, and it is your only chance, which hopefully will take you to the next stage, which is the interview stage, right? What else? Competition. Why else should you have a strong resume, right? You may say, Chinmay, why should I invest so much of time and energy on building my resume? In a competitive job market, a strong resume helps you stand out from the applicants. Now, as I said, there may be hundreds of people applying for the same job, and you know it. In your college, for one competition, there may be so many people who are shortlisted, right? For one role, there's only one monitor, there's only one class representative, or maybe two, correct? So that it is a competitive market end of the day, and everybody may have similar qualifications, maybe the same college, maybe even the similar looking strengths. So then the point is, how do you stand out? And that's when I will say, know yourself. What is your USP? How do you stand out, right? So it helps you beat that competition and stand heads and shoulders above the rest. It highlights your strengths and demonstrates your suitability for the position. Now, there's another very important point that I need you to bear in mind, that a resume is never seen in isolation. If you show me a resume, it's very hard for me to say, of course, we're going to do some of those exercises, but only for practice, for you to know and for you to distinguish a good from a bad resume. But you never see a resume in isolation and say, oh, it's a good resume or it's an excellent one. Of course, you may comment on the look and feel, the design, the format, but basically a resume is always seen with reference to the job role. What is the job you're applying for with that resume, correct? So I just want to take a moment to pause and highlight this point here. It highlights your strengths and demonstrates your suitability for the position. So you always create a resume keeping in mind what is it that you are positioning for, right? So a strong resume will help you stand out from your competition. And number 3, professionalism. A polished resume reflects your professionalism and attention to detail, qualities that are highly valued by employers. Now imagine seeing a resume with a spelling mistake. Imagine sending a resume with a formatting issue, right? What is the impression it would give to an employer? it would make you look bad, it would make you look lazy, it would make you look not interested. What are the chances that your resume will get shortlisted? Zero, right? Because they don't have the time. There are hundreds of resumes, they're going to pick a resume, one mistake, and your resume goes to trash, no matter how good you may be technically, right? So it is an expensive mistake to make, and you need to review and re-review your resume until unless you're really sure that you've done your best and put your best foot forward. All right, so that's why you should have you need a strong resume. It creates first impressions, it helps you stand heads and shoulders above the competition, above the rest, and it shows you in the professional light. A resume is more than a list of job titles. Remember that. It is a strategic document, just like a passport, that needs to be tailored for each and every job application, and it should be clear, concise, and relevant. Yeah, so that is why you need a strong resume. Why else do you need a resume? Well, we've discussed that, but you know it, to get to the interview stage, right? Objective of a CV is not to get you a job. It's just important, and I'm reaffirming, and it's important to bear this in mind. Resume is only the beginning, right? There are many more stages, but you need a resume, and a strong resume to get you to that job interview, for your employer, prospective employer, to contact you. But once that meeting happens, then it has to be you become the brand, right? I hope you know that a resume is scanned only for 30 seconds the first time. In fact, actually even lesser than that, right? So it is, I know it's heartbreaking. You put in so much of hard work to send your resume to an employer to get shortlisted, and all they give you is 30 seconds. But that is a fact, and you should remember that nobody is invested in you, right? That resume is your, the first time your version, basically a version of you that is meeting the other person on the other side, right? And all they want to know is that, are you fitting the role or not? If you fit the role, they will make the effort to call you or to reach out to you and set up a meeting. If not, your resume goes to the trash, right? Look at that process just in as many words. Okay, so 30 seconds is all you got. And your resume is your golden ticket to interviews. I'm sure you know that by now. Discover the art of crafting an irresistible resume that highlights your achievements and grabs employers' attention for you. So welcome to this program one more time, and remember that this is not just a resume, it is a passport for you. It is your marketing tool, a brochure, and your golden ticket to get you to the interview stage. That's it for this session, and I will meet you in the next one. But make sure you write all these notes, and there's a big assignment coming up for you, so pay attention please, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye for now.